the 8th installment in just 11 years in the Conjuring universe, possibly the 9th installment, depending on how you classify things, is a big hit at the box office, The Nun II. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new horror film, The Nun II. This is doing great business at the box office, spending its first 2 weekends atop the charts. And many are saying better than the first Nun, which is not a huge surprise. It was very poorly received by both critics and audiences. So we'll see how I think this one compares. But first, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We've got a ton of great movie and TV reviews for you to check out here on the channel. Try to post something new just about every day, too. So please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell as well so you get all the alerts for when I drop new videos. All right, so The Nun II. This is the 8th official movie in the Conjuring universe. The first one came out in 2013 over the summer, so now we're in the fall of 2023. So in a span of 10 and a half years or something, we've got 8 movies. However, there is a case to be made for this being the 9th movie because The Curse of La Llorona from a few years ago featured a person from one of the Conjuring movies. I think it might have been one of the Annabelle movies, as that character in The Curse of La Llorona. So it technically is kind of the same universe, but it's not like official. I don't know, whatever. Who cares, really? The point is, this is now the most lucrative horror franchise of all time, which is hard to believe. I would have guessed maybe Scream, but no, apparently it is the Conjuring universe. And The Nun, the first Nun, worldwide was the highest grossing film in the series to date as well. So no surprise that they very quickly greenlit a sequel. So this one basically it features Tessa Farmiga again, and she is the sister, by the way, of Vera Farmiga, who plays Lorraine Warrens in the main Conjuring movies. Her and Patrick, what's his name? Patrick Wilson, as Ed Watson. Or Wilson, whatever the hell their names are. Warrens, that's what it is. They are in like a little tag scene at the end of this movie, but apparently it wasn't filmed necessarily for this movie. It was actually filmed and kind of left on the cutting room floor in the previous Conjuring movie they did. So they do, the Warrens do appear very, very, very briefly in this movie, if you're into that. But Tessa Farmiga is the sister of Vera Farmiga. So these two gals are really, sort of conducting this entire series, at the head of the train here. But she returns as Sister Irene. A few other people return as well, including Jonas Bloquet as Frenchie. But we have some new additions as well, including Storm Reed. But it takes place originally in 1956 in France. A priest is murdered, and then an evil is spreading. So we follow Sister Irene once again as she comes face-to-face with the demon nun, Valak, from the first Nun movie. So, look, I'll be honest. I don't really remember much about the first Nun movie. I had to go back and look at my grades. And this is, before I was doing videos all the time. So there is no video of me talking about it, but, I don't really remember hardly anything about it. But I gave it a C+, which sounds about right for most of the Conjuring spin-offs. The first Conjuring, I think, is one of the greatest horror movies of the last, 10, 15, 20 years. I gave that an A. But everything else has sort of paled in comparison. The Conjuring movies themselves are usually a little bit better, but like that first Annabelle movie was not good. Second one was a little better. So there is something to be said for maybe the sequels to these spin-offs being better than the originals. For this one, I actually go the other way on it. I mean, I don't know if I would give The Nun 1 a C+ now if I rewatched it. But this one is definitely a lower grade than that. So for me, this one is not quite as good as that first one. And here's why. Well, a few reasons. No, number one, the barrage of jump scares. I tire of these. I talk about this all the time when I review horror movies. I'm just sick of the jump scares. They're cheap. And in this one, some of them just didn't even make a lot of sense. But then you have the first, like, 2/3 of the movie, the first 2 acts, if you will, are really kind of boring. Like, it's the first scene is good, and there's some good horror there, but then we really dive into, like, the characters and sort of the history and all of this. And I don't know, it was boring. They should have, I feel like, maybe dove into that in the first Nun if they want to talk about the history of this creature or whatever. We do that maybe in the intro movie, in the origin movie. So here it was just a lot of like, okay, let's is this actually a horror movie or like where are we going? Other than cheap jump scares, are we actually going to get some interesting stuff going on? And at the end, we do get that. The last maybe 15 minutes or something, there's definitely some good horror, and it's fairly well directed, for a movie with a lot of dark sequences. I complain about this a lot in horror movies as well. Well, movies in general lately, but this was directed by Michael Chavez. And of course, James Wan produces. He brought the Conjuring universe to us. But in any event, so this guy Michael Chavez has directed, and he actually gives us dimly lit scenes, but we still know what's going on. I can't take it when everything is so dark. I'm supposed to be scared about something, but I can't even see what's happening. They at least lit some of these very dark places, because we're in these are religious folks, or they're in very old buildings that maybe are not very well lit, or maybe just lit from the moonlight, or whatever it is. And I was able to make out most of what was going on. And I will say the end of this is pretty scary, but the buildup is so laborious and so honestly boring. It was shocking to me that almost nothing happens in this movie for a good 45 minutes. And as a result, okay, yeah, I know I said I don't remember much about the original Nun, but that was 5 years ago or whatever. I saw this movie last week, and there's not a lot I could tell you about it, except for like the major plot points, maybe a couple of the more gory moments towards the end. It's an instantly forgettable movie. And so it definitely comes across as one of the weakest of the entire Conjuring universe. I think my grade for the first Annabelle maybe was like a C minus, D plus. This is definitely, kind of in that range. So for me, not better than the first Nun, although, again, I would have to go back and watch that one. Not that I'm going to, but, I suppose my C plus probably will still stand, or at least thereabouts. But this is definitely lower on that scale for me. The Nun II, it's doing great numbers at the box office, but for this critic, not so hot. I leave it with a D plus. Since we have that tag scene at the end, I think we can expect maybe more from Ed and Lorraine Warren moving forward, maybe a fifth Conjuring movie, whatever. But for now, that will do it. Thanks so much for watching. Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time. Bye.